So when it comes to the post of Facebook, you can add keywords there also, and in this case on Facebook you would use hashtags as the way that to add keywords, and this is also the same, the similar approach that you would use on Twitter as well as on Instagram and LinkedIn. So these four platforms use hashtags, and you would add keywords through a hashtag. Yep.
How do you find out what the best keywords are to post to your website?
Yeah.
Business, like there's 1,000 keywords I can think of, but what are the most valuable keywords?
I'll be covering that. Yeah. Other facets of off-page optimization are optimizing your blog, adding keywords to the tag section, adding keywords to post and title, like I mentioned earlier. So this is what it looks like. On a blog, this is just, it could be any blog. In this case, I've used WordPress as an example. So the top part is the title part. So that's one place for you to add your main keyword. The second is your, the main body of the content. That's the second place you would add keywords. And the third place is a defined section called tags. And that's the third place where you would add your keywords.
For instance, what would be your keyword there? No, I don't, the first, things you want to know about me. So what would be your main keyword in that?
Well, for this one, this is not something that I was optimizing. I just built it for fun.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, but if you were using something like that, so I mean, I would use, if this were a page that I was using for my business, I would say something like, internet marketing or search engine optimization or SEO services, things like that.
But it's a blog, so it's more like a story. It's like a journal.
Right, exactly.
So it's a little harder.
Right. So the thing is that keyword would be present in the title. It wouldn't be the title itself. So for example, 10 tips on making your SEO strategy better, for example. So SEO is in the keyword.
Okay.
Or what does search engine optimization mean? So that's a sentence, it's a title, and it also has search engine optimization in it. So that's kind of like how you would integrate a keyword into a natural sounding sentence and use it in a relevant way on your content asset. So I think this is the part that a lot of people have been asking about, keyword research. Yeah, so.
Question before you go on.
Sure.
Back on the social media platforms like Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
If you build a post that's a graphic, say, I love donuts, and it's turn it into a JPEG or a PNG, turn it into a graphic file with the donut, and it's very cute. Are you losing those keywords because they're part of a graphic?
If it's embedded within the graphic, then yeah, those keywords are not going to be read. But if you're posting it on Instagram, Instagram allows you to, upload your tags as hashtags. So, you can then add it to the body of your post.
So you have it both as a graphic and as a hashtag?
Yeah, because the hashtag is what a user will type in to find that piece of content. What's in the body of the image, that's not searchable.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So these are the three pillars of keyword research. You have search volume, you have competition, and you have bid price. So I'll be getting into each of these because when you do keyword research, this is what you see and you kind of want to know what it means. So step one is to create an AdWords account on Google. You go to adwords.google.com. The account is free so far, and you can create it for free, and you can get set. You then log into your AdWords account, and then you'll see this the wrench icon. You click that wrench icon, and then you see this thing that pops out. On the far left in planning, you'll see a link that says Keyword Planner. So that's the link that you want to click. And then you'll come to this page where you enter, categories that you want to research. So in your case, wigs, hair wigs, or color wigs. You'll enter those like main categories here. It limits you at 3, but it does generate a lot of additional keyword ideas for you to then search. After you enter those keywords, you then click on Get Started, and it'll then generate your report for you. So this is what the report looks like. So as you can see, it kind of gives you all the keyword ideas that it thinks as to what could be relevant to your search result. On the top part of your search panel, you see that pencil icon on the top leftish corner. You click that to edit the geography that you want to target. So if you want to do a search for something that's hyperlocal, you could actually say Nassau County, or Suffolk County, or Long Island, or Manhattan, or New York State, or, like you can choose by state as well as by city. And you can do national, you can do regional, you can do, local. So that kind of gives you the search volume for that specific geography that you're targeting.
Excuse me. Does it allow for a radius within a zip code?
You can do that on Facebook, but not on Google.
Not on Google. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you enter more than one if you want to be location specific?
Sure. You can. You absolutely can. And that's part of the geography. So you can actually select, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island, Long Island. You can actually define that as, identified separate, territories that you want to know. So the first section within the search result are the keywords. This is the keywords that Google throws out as possible keywords that you could consider. The second is the average monthly searches. So this is a very, very important number. This means these many searches for that keyword happen each month in the geography that you've selected. So, the reason why this is important is because you ideally want to be in the keyword that's searched a lot as opposed to the keyword that's searched very few times. So in this example, I think SEO website was searched 100 to 1,000 times a month in New York. Now, 100 to 1,000, that's kind of low, as opposed to just SEO, which is searched 1,000 to 10,000 times. So if you do a keyword research like this, it'll become really apparent to you quickly as to which keyword you should use based on the search volume. And again, now if your product is very niche and very specific, that search volume may be less of a factor because then you at least know what you're dealing with. And you can then take an informed decision based on it. The next is the competition level. So competition level, currently when in the initial preview, it mentions it as high, low, medium. You have the option of downloading this keyword as an Excel file. And when you download it, it'll download as, in that file, it's then a ratio of 0 to 1, where so 0.01 is low, and 1 or 0.95 is considered as high. So when you see that ratio in your competition number, then you know not just whether it's high or low, you know the degree to which it's high or low. So then that kind of gives you an idea as to if that's a keyword you want to use or not. It also tells you the bid price. So bid price means if you were to use these keywords in an AdWords campaign, this is how much you would pay per click for that keyword. So just SEO, if I were to use SEO in my AdWords campaign, if somebody clicked on my ad, I would pay anywhere from $5 to $20 per click. And that's just per click. That doesn't mean anything. Somebody could just click for fun and go away. Others could click and then go to your website and then maybe actually give you a call. And most of the clicks unfortunately happen by accident. So you kind of need to know that before you kind of get into it. You need to have fairly deep pockets if you want to invest in paid advertising on Google. Like I said, 95% of Google's revenue comes from this, so it's kind of no surprise.
That goes back to my original question, about why somebody would spend their marketing dollars to be in the top 4 spaces, and I understand your answer. But you are paying for people who are either curious, are not serious, and then you have to make sure that your website looks attractive and you've got the right
Yes.
number of calls to action, and so if it's not that way, you're paying for somebody just to come and visit you for a couple of seconds and bounce right out.
Right, but if you also consider the fact as to what's cheaper, is it cheaper to do this or is it cheaper to put an ad on TV, to reach that, number of people, or is it cheaper to put a billboard, on Sunrise or, in Times Square
Yeah.
so you kind of have to, there are pros and cons to everything and each has benefits, so the benefit here is that you get visibility and you get people that at least are likely to be your customer, because if you have an ad for, let's say, some industrial product like glass cutting, so it's very unlikely that somebody might click on that unless he or she is in the industry, so there's that, yeah.
Something I also recently read that if you don't pay advertising, there are a lot of people who are paying to be on your keyword. So if you show up in the organic search, but you have your competitors at the top 3 advertisers,
Right.
at least if you're advertising, you also show up in the top 3, so at least you knock out some of your competition.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so Google does allow you to use, competitive words as keywords. So, and this is something that you see a lot. So if you're looking for, let's say, jewelry, and even if you're looking specifically for sales, you'll see like all that competition pop up both organically as well as in the page advertising listing. So it does allow for that. They're kind of trying to make it, as much of a level playing field as possible. So when you download the spreadsheet from the search result, this is what it looks like. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. So this was for one of my clients. A certain keyword here, acrylic paint, was searched 100,000 to 1 million times, and this is national data. So this was searched, all over the US, and that has a competition level of 0.96. So 0.96 means that's super high. It's almost 1. So like I said, it's a scale of 0 to 1, and 0.96 is really high. Another keyword, glitter paint, that was searched 10,000 to 100,000 times a month, and that had a competition index of 0.99. Again, really high. Yeah, so competition is basically a scale of 0 to 1. So it starts from 0.00. It means the level of competition. It means that if something has a high competition number, it means that that keyword is being used a lot. And it also means that your competition is using that keyword. So that's what it means. So the reason why that's relevant is because if you're choosing a keyword that has a high competition index, it makes the job a lot harder to rank prominently on Google for that keyword, because everyone, or at least your competition, is doing that also. So it then becomes a challenge to kind of stand out. So that's the reason why, knowing this competition, ratio or index is important, because it kind of helps your decision process. So ideally, you want a keyword that has high search volume, mid to low competition. So those are kind of like your, unseen opportunities or hidden gems. For whatever reason, the competition has overlooked it, and you notice it, and you're like, aha, okay, so let me use this. You have your eureka moment. Okay. Yeah, so the next section is content creation. So content creation is really, really important. Content is the vehicle that, contains your keywords, and that's what Google sees and that's what consumers see. So it's really important to have content. So content takes many shapes. It could be photo, text, video, audio, AR, VR, and whatever else comes after AR and VR.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll search for things and it comes up with an Amazon location.
Okay.
Does Google have a place in that? Or does Amazon work as its own search engine optimization keyword? How does that interplay?
So you do a keyword search on Google and then you see an Amazon thing coming up.
So whatever.
Right.
And it comes up not with the site, but with a product that's at Amazon. How does that
Yeah.
come to
So
pay?
it's basically just like, so Amazon is a place that allows you to upload, pictures, video, information about products, specifications, all that. And all of that contain keywords. So the keywords are relevant both for people searching on Amazon as well as people outside of Amazon. So that's why, that
Is
listing,
Amazon a player in the advertising
they are.
indexing?
They are.
So you would get rated at Amazon?
No, so Amazon has its own advertising service that is competing with Google. That being said, Amazon is a platform also, like Facebook and YouTube, that any content that's published on Amazon, if it's optimized the right way, can find itself in a Google search result.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask you something really quick? So if you want to use the most popular keyword, you have all this competition. How does it determine the ranking then? If you type in that search, it's like if you're one of a couple thousand businesses all using the same or looking for the same keyword, how does the system determine how far you fall in line? I guess.
Yeah, so there are many factors that go into figuring out how your piece of content comes on Google page 1. I've covered some of them here, but then there are many more. Another factor is engagement. So if your piece of content has many visitors coming to it, many visitors engaging with it, and by engaging I mean, so if let's say your piece of content is a YouTube video, and let's say your channel has 1 million subscribers, and let's say each video has 10,000 views, and each video has 5,000 comments. So that piece of content is then seen as highly credible, relevant for that specific area, topic, and that piece of content will be seen prominently on Google for, if it's intended to be seen on Google. So engagement is another way for you to kind of be better than your competition. And of course, the other way is you can just give us a call and we'll help you out. So when it comes to creating content, so this is an example of creating some kind of engaging content or funny content. So content can be any kind of content, and sometimes some content is relevant at some places whilst not at other places. So you kind of have to know the moment, and you got to experiment, you got to be creative, you got to test and see what content piece is working well and what isn't. And also, so it's whenever you're creating content, I think an easy yardstick or an easy thumb rule could be something like you should try and entertain and inform. So if you're entertaining someone, you kind of have their attention, and if you're also informing them, you're then adding value. So then you kind of got their attention, and the content is engaging enough for them to kind of stick around for the message, So if you use that approach could work. And again, so this is not a broad thing that I would use for every single, a category out there. It could work, but then again, it's all about how you treat it, So let's take a look at this.
Buying something for your mama? Easy Cash will give you no trouble. Easy Cash will buy you gold. Will buy almost anything, new or old. Easy Cash will buy your TV. There's no other place you'd rather be. Easy Cash will buy your gift card. I know getting money nowadays is hard, but trust me, Easy Cash will get you quick cash. Call us or visit us now. 631-434-7395.
So that's as far as using video. Like I said, that's kind of just to sort of lighten the mood a little bit. And sometimes, videos like that can help, but it also depends on who your audience is. So if it's like millennials or young people or, you know, anyone under 45, maybe it could work. If your audience is 55 plus, maybe it may not work, you know. So you kind of have to know who your audience is and then create content accordingly. Video. So video is like really, really huge. So video is, you know, it's 87% of people online consume video. So like I was saying earlier, so there's a reason why YouTube is the number 2 search engine after Google. And there's also a reason why YouTube is the most visited video platform on the planet. Because video is super hot. 87% of people online, you know, consume video. So when it comes to content, you know, you might want to think about using video as one of your content vehicles for, you know, transmitting your message out there. Because people would much rather watch than read, you know. So, yeah. So where is content used? It's used everywhere. So content can be used in emails, it could be used on your blog, on your website, on your social media, you know, and any other place. It's also, you know, used in VR and AR as well. You know, so these are like some examples of, you know, content. So that's your YouTube channel, your Twitter account, your website, and the blog on the website, and so when I was saying earlier that your website should be responsive, so responsive means that no matter what screen you're on, the website resizes automatically. So that's considered, that's also mobile friendly, and it also is responsive. So that's something that all websites should be to be compliant with Google. So I get this question a lot, you know, what social media is right for my business? So the answer is it depends. It depends on who your audience is. So this is the latest data from ComScore on social media usage in the US. So as you can see here, Snapchat is huge. It's huge among millennials. So millennials are basically people under the age of 24. You know, so if millennials are your audience, you want to be on Snapchat and Instagram, you know, and a few others. Yeah, that too. And another interesting statistic here is that Facebook is actually used evenly across all ages except millennials. So everyone above the age of 24 is active on Facebook. So it's like earlier, people used to think that, oh, Facebook is just this, you know, weird place where people come and talk about their latte and what salad they had and, you know, random stuff like that. But so now I guess people still do that, but it's done by people 24 to 55 plus. So that broad section of people are all active on Facebook. So that's the reason why Facebook has become this really hugely coveted place for your brand to be seen, because everyone's there. And it allows you access to that broad demographic. So yeah, so like I was saying earlier, Facebook is not popular among millennials. In fact, millennials don't want to be seen there. So that's where like old people hang out. Yeah. Yeah, that's where moms and dads hang out, so yeah, it's not cool for them anymore.
Did you hear the latest about Facebook? They just announced that they're going to be doing a dating service within Facebook, and as soon as that was announced, like the Match.com stock went down.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, Facebook is innovating every single day. So Facebook originally started out as just purely the social network thing, then it evolved into groups, then it evolved into hosting like business pages, so then it was sort of competing with LinkedIn. Then it started evolving into e-commerce because Facebook fan pages support apps, and those apps are really versatile, so you can actually do a lot of commerce straight from Facebook. So it's competing with the other e-commerce places. They have chat involved, integrated into their platform. Even that chat is evolving like crazy. They're even competing with Craigslist, because you can post classifieds, on Facebook, and those classifieds are, I've been told they're much more effective than Craigslist.
They are.
Yeah. You get a response like this within seconds.
Personal things for sale.
Yeah. So, so you have that going. Now Facebook started, getting into blogging as well. So they're competing a little bit with WordPress and some of the other blog platforms. So, and like you said, this dating thing,
Yeah,
I would.
bringing millennials back because of that.
Yeah, they continue to evolve, and I'm sure they'll do a lot more after that. Yeah.
So regarding video, is it, if you had to choose between uploading something onto YouTube or doing a Facebook Live video, which would rank better?
I would do both if you could.
Do both. Could you do the same video both places? Like do a Facebook Live video, then download that and upload and use that same exact video and just upload that to YouTube?
You could, and you could also broadcast live on YouTube also.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah. And most social media platforms today, like Instagram and Twitter, have a live broadcast feature. So you could use those also, if you want it. And again, it also depends on your social media strategy. So if your business, so it kind of all goes down to who your customer is. So if your customer is, let's say, 35 to 45 or 35 to 55, then you want to use certain medias that audience consumes more. So you definitely want to be on Facebook, you want to be on Instagram. Again, if your customer is, let's say, an institution or a business, and if you're B2B focused, then you want to be maybe on LinkedIn, because that's kind of like a place for industry professionals to kind of like meet up. So it all depends on who your business caters to, who's the end consumer, and based on that you form your search strategy, your content strategy, and your social media strategy. So Facebook is popular with everyone other than millennials. This is what I was mentioning earlier. LinkedIn is gaining popularity with millennials. So in fact, the data shows that millennials have taken to LinkedIn like ducks to water. So that's another place. So especially if there are any job seekers in the room, previously people were a little bit not that paranoid about LinkedIn because it was mostly peers on there. But now that millennials have taken to it with such a force and they're engaging with it in such a way, you kind of have to up your game a little bit on LinkedIn, because there's a whole new batch of population that has landed, and that's kind of like adding to the competition. So Snapchat is hugely popular among millennials, no surprise there. It's also beginning to become to gain popularity with 25 to 34-year-olds. Obviously not at the rate as millennials, but it's starting. And it's not as popular with people 35 plus. As you can see, that's the blue line. That's like right at the bottom. So other aspects to consider is reputation, your online reputation. Questions?
What does R2M stand for?
Rsquare Media.
I have questions,
Sure.
actually. Could you tell me about, I have a few questions actually.
Sure.
First one is, let's say you have multiple domains. How does that really work? Because I'm not knowledgeable in this area at all. I know there are some people here that are. I don't know anything about it. So let's say I want to cover my bases, and I have a website here and a website here, but my main content is on this third page. What do you focus all of these tips on, and how do you get these other, like, how do you coordinate on it?
Okay, so that's a great question. So again, I mean, I don't want to like sound kind of repetitive, but you know, everything is kind of geared by it's driven by your search strategy. So the short answer is you optimize everything, and you optimize it in a way that, you know, kind of like one feeds the other. So if, let's say, you have one main page, and that's like your, let's say, your main place, and then the others are kind of just supporting that, you know. So if that's the case, then you should have those, you know, those two other pages or other two websites link between each other, so that if somebody's on a certain page and they want more information, and the next logical step for them is to go to your main page, maybe your conversion page, you then have a link straight to that.
I'm talking more if you're forwarding. So if somebody types in, I don't know, a search for their website, and then it's directed to your other website, would it play into this SEO?
Yeah, so if you have just a domain name
Right.
without any content behind it, then that doesn't help you.
It doesn't
So,
help.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what you want to do is, and it could even be just a single page, and you need to have, like I said, at least 350 words for that page to be considered a page,
Okay.
according to Google. So whatever that domain name is, that domain should have like a page behind it at minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And once it has a page, then it's then a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has some form and body, and then it can then, you know, it can then be like your arms and legs in your fight to, you know, get to page one.
Okay. I have another question.
Sure.
Do you recommend, I know that you have your business and you're promoting your business, but there are these hosting websites that will create your page, like GoDaddy or
Sure.
Squarespace or some other ones. Do you recommend one over the other?
So yeah, that's a great question. So the reason why people come to, you know, experts, you know, like me and my company is because we see the big picture. So the big picture is, so it's kind of like, so again, I don't want to pick on you, but so let's say your ask is, hey, I want to sell wigs. Okay, great. So maybe the next logical step is I need a website to sell my wigs. So if that was that, you know, the thought process that you went down, and that's the path you went down, then you would be like, okay, great. So, you know, I'm bootstrapping this, and, you know, I want to go to like a Wix or a, you know, someplace like that and build a website, and I'll be done in like, you know, 5 minutes, and great, you know, and that's fine. But if, let's say, you said, hey, Rsquare Media, I attended your presentation, it was sick, and, you know, hey, can you help me out? So then I would say like, okay, so what are you trying to do? Who's your target audience? Which market are you serving? And then based on that, I would create a broad program for you, which includes, you know, your visibility, your social media, your content, and your website, and how all that fits together. You know, and it's important for all of this to fit together, because otherwise there might be a whole lot of opportunities that you're overlooking, and it all kind of needs to work in tandem. And it's important that your website is optimized based on certain keywords. Those same keywords need to live on your social media. Your social media platforms need to be optimized. Your posts on social media need to be optimized also. All of those posts need to link to your intended destination page. You know, so all that stuff kind of needs, all those wires need to be kind of laid down properly.
And I want to add that optimization should be done on a weekly basis, because then Google sees that your website is constantly refreshing itself. So
Exactly.
even if you change 1 or 2 keywords on your website, that tells Google that, you know, it's active, it's current, not dying, and you're not really on it. So if you have a website, you still gotta keep changing it.
Yeah, and you know, so just to add to that, so keywords, so, you know, a certain keyword, like right now, might have like a 10,000 to 100,000 search result approximately, you know, for let's say this month. it's possible that that same keyword might have a different search result in December. It might have a different search result in Feb, you know. So you kind of need to be on top of this to see if that keyword that you're using is still relevant.
Or
You know?
change it.
Yeah, or if there's a better keyword, and
Right.
then you kind of need to go through that process on an ongoing basis because
Or
that,
rotate it.
yeah, and then you can't, because that's like your finger on the pulse, you know, of the market, and you want to be as relevant to the market as possible, because that helps with your visibility, and when people find you, they want to know that, okay, this is relevant to what I'm searching for today, you know, so I'm going to, you know, take a chance, I'm going to give it a shot, I'm going to try it, you know, per the choice continuum. Did I answer your question?
You did. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Does a dedicated IP address have any impact on the rankings and reputation of the website?
Yeah, that does help.
A dedicated what?
IP address. So that means if you're like, if you're kind of like a hacker or a cyber criminal, and you know you have a rotating IP address that's at one time in Bulgaria, another time in Moscow, another time in Japan, another time in Sweden, and so obviously those people don't want to be found. You know, that's kind of like the whole point of it. What I'm talking about is being found. You know, so they would do everything that's opposite of what I would do. So yeah, so you definitely want to have like a static IP address. Yeah.
Any suggestions on video creation as far as, you know, most people are camera shy or they just don't know what to say on camera. Like, how would you suggest the best format of doing regular video? Just, you know, holding a selfie stick and talking to the camera, or setting up like a room where you're having a discussion with other people? Any ideas or suggestions?
Sure, that's a great question.
Or
So
webcam, I don't know.
yeah, so there are like many ways that you could do it. One way, you know, similar to like some of the videos that I showed you, were essentially like a moving pictures presentation where you have text, you have moving pictures, you have music, you have relevant information being shared. And if you want to throw like a voiceover recording on top of that, you could do that. This way, the important information is being transmitted, and this way you don't necessarily have to be in front of the camera. You know, so that's like one approach. Another approach is get over it. You know, and you know, just wing it. You know, like you'll get better at it. You got to do it to get better at it. And at some point in time, you'll start enjoying it. So.
Is one more effective than the other, or they both have the same click-through rate, or?
Like it varies. It all depends on, you know, the content, and it also depends on, you know, like how engaging you present. You know, so if you're on camera, like if when I look at you, I'm like, this guy doesn't want to be on camera. If I get that, then I'm going to be like, yeah, not happening. You know, so yep.
Rajiv, doesn't it also depend on the type of product or service? So if you are, like if you're doing a professional service, you know, where you want to be the one to be on camera because people are doing business with you, versus a product where people are doing business with a product, so that's going to be the highlight. So maybe it also depends on what it is that you're.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So like, for example, if you look at industries like, you know, physicians, doctors, lawyers, realtors, you know, so those kind of professions are like very, you know, that personal relationship is very critical. So for things like that, you need to have a face, you know, so whether it's Celino and Barnes, the accident lawyers, you know, you kind of need to know, okay, these are the two guys that are connected if I like fall down or whatever, you know, so then it kind of, you know, makes sense to have a face and connect that face to the business. And to your point, then yes, Mr. Celino should be then on camera saying whatever he says, you know. Versus, you know, if let's say you're Microsoft and you're selling, you know, Windows 2019, yeah, then there's no face required. In fact, the face at that point will be distracting because the person isn't buying you; they're buying that service, you know. So it depends on, you know, what you're selling. It also depends on the nature of the business, and yeah. So if you're adding value, then. And if that face and that human presence adds value, then great. You know, you should certainly do that. If it's not adding value or if it's taking away or distracting, then you absolutely should not do it.
Right. I do have another follow-up.
Sure.
So regarding video, the frequency of uploading video is as important as frequency of uploading content like a blog post. So they say you should blog once a week and have an article. Do you need a video once a week, or should you just have a core set of videos that's always rotating?
Yeah, I would try and create, so the best way, by the way, that's a good question. So what I would do is, so you have your weekly blog post, I would create like a video that's kind of like a summary or a highlight of that blog post and embed that into the blog post. So that even if somebody doesn't go through your entire article, at least they kind of get a gist of it by looking at the video, and maybe looking at that video will motivate them to read the article. So that could be like a strategy you could try out.
Just going about comments in the room, if you do, update, if you don't update your blog, and you just change the keywords, can you have the same results?
So it's really important that your content needs to align with the keywords. So if let's say, by the way, what's your business?
E-commerce.
Okay, so and which products?
Just,
Like dresses?
yeah.
Okay, so if you're selling dresses online, so and if you want to like swap summer with winter, I mean it could potentially work. But if it's something to do with the specificity of the product, and if let's say like cotton is really huge right now, and it's really important that you talk about cotton, but the previous iteration was polyester, so like you kind of have to see if swapping those keywords, like does it still read logically, and if it does, then yeah, it could potentially helping you, it could do the work that you needed to do. If not, then you might want to make some tweaks or edits so that it reads like a natural kind of thing, so it doesn't look forced.
Yep. I have another question.
Sure.
Do you have strategies for choosing a domain name, and does the length of it or complicatedness of it, if that's a word, affect your SEO?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the domain name does help. It helps to some degree. So even if you choose a domain name that happens to be your keyword, that automatically does not assure you of like surging through, like being on the top of page 1. Like I was saying earlier, you kind of need that domain name needs to be supported by a website or a page that needs to have relevant content on it, and your target keywords need to be found prominently in that content. So, if you kind of have all this stuff going on, then you're setting yourself up for success. For it, for you to then have to be able to then get the result you're looking for.
So if you, just to add on to that, just to clarify, if I sell chairs and desks, and I say, and my website is chairs and desks, that's not going to bring me closer to the top, considering it matches exactly to what I'm looking for?
So the thing is that
it has nothing to do with that?
No, I wouldn't say that it has nothing to do with it, but see, so the way that the bot looks at your website, it looks at it both in pieces as well as a whole. So it looks at like the different sections of the website that can be crawled and indexed and everything, and it also kind of takes a snapshot of it as a whole. So if you, let's say, didn't have a website and it was just chairsanddesk.com, then it would just say chairs and desk, but all the other things would come up blank, and then it would be kind of like just sort of like a not that great, listing.
Okay.
But if your thing had chairsanddesk.com, the homepage said, yes, we sell chairs and desks, come in, information about chairs and desks, and things like that, which kind of add to that narrative, then yeah.
Okay.
So then it does make sense. So it, like I was saying, it all needs to be in tandem.
So does it, sorry if I'm monopolizing you, does it then help you if you have chairsanddesk.com versus you call yourself R&M, or something to that effect, and then you still have all that content? Does it then give you that extra level of, because it has the keywords in it? Yes?
Yeah, so I mean, because of
if everything is the way it's supposed to be.
Right. So because of the vastness of the amount of, websites out there, content out there that's vying for that coveted spot on Google page one. Because of that vastness, just having the domain name alone does not give you any the incremental edge that it would 12 years ago. You know, so you would need like a whole lot more. You'd be firing on all cylinders like a V12 and surging forward.
I think she's saying all things being equal, would that domain name bump it up a little more? I think she's asking. Like if you had the exact same words, the exact same size, one was called Glorioso, that's my last name, because it's tiny, and one was called Chairs and Desks. Would Chairs and Desks come up first?
Right.
That's the question. Would it come up first because it says Chairs and Desks?
Like in the current scenario, no, because it needs like a whole lot more. Google needs to know that your site is relevant to that search result, and the way that it would know that beyond your site being optimized is the amount of traffic that's going to it, the amount of traffic that's staying on your website. It looks at your bounce rate. So if people come to your website and just leave immediately because for whatever reason, either they came there by mistake or it's not relevant to their search result, they don't like it or whatever, they're having a bad day, whatever, So if the vast majority of traffic behaves like that and they're on your page for like 5 seconds, so then Google knows that, and then they would then, rank your site as not as relevant for that keyword, as opposed to if, let's say, people went there in droves and stayed there for like 5 minutes, so then they know that, this is a site that's relevant.
How long does Google watch you on a website?
All the time.
Really? So they're monitoring how long I'm on a website.
Yeah, they look at, traffic.
Or is it based on the search history?
Yeah, they look at traffic because they know exactly what's going on their platform. They know that how many people are clicking a link and going to a certain website. They know that, and they track this through cookies, through your browser.
Right.
And also, if you use Google Analytics, then that's another way that they know.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There used to be a trick, if you have multiple sites, or if you have friends that have their sites, Google would rate you higher in ranking if more sites had links to your site. They could see how many other sites will link to you. So many a time, I would have a site, I used to work at a different college, and people would say, would you add our link to our site on your page as resources?
Right.
Okay, is that still in effect?
Yeah, so I would say it this way, doing that doesn't hurt you, but relying solely on that is not going to help you.
No one's soul works.
Right, so so earlier, again, so to your question, like back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean 10 plus years ago,